We're going to be going over some body cam footage, and in that body cam footage, an officer was tragically killed. That officer was ambushed, and the only way that you're surviving an ambush is with a lot of luck. So we're going to go over that footage, and keep in mind that after we talk about the body camera and the tactics and techniques that we talk about may not specifically align to these officers' actions, but what they did in that video is going to help us draw some correlation between just some general tactical techniques.
Copy.
So the officer is arriving on a double shooting. Okay. Dispatched to a double shooting.
On 512, look, we have at least 2 victims outside at the location, bleeding.
512 copy.
Hey, are we on? Hey! Who shot you? Who shot you? Are there victims inside?
Oh, shit. There's a gun.
Mm-hmm. So as you can see on your screen, or maybe I have it blurred out, YouTube, I don't know, but the person that the officer thought he was there to help is actually the suspect who committed the shooting. Another, caveat to this that leads into the officer's state of mind and his thinking is he's not even at the actual location where the shooting happened. He's several blocks from it still. So as he's arriving, he's seeing this person on the ground and obviously thinking this must be a victim right here, so let me get out and help him. Now, you're going to see after we finish the body camera, what we're going to start with is we're going to talk about, from a law enforcement's perspective, just arriving on scenes where you have, a potential shooting or a potential incident where there's a suspect and a victim on the scene, and incidents where officers have overcommitted themselves too fast, again, not directly related to this video, and found themselves basically putting themselves inside of an ambush from a suspect when there's some precautions in their instances that they could have taken to try to mitigate that. So the officer is shot initially, he goes down, and the suspect continues to shoot. So going forward here, we're going to see other officers arriving on scene.
Stop.
First thing, just to note real quick, I don't know, and it seems like these officers don't know at this point if their fellow officers shot.
Right.
Because they mentioned later on the radio that there's an officer down, so I'm thinking maybe that could have been the first time. Also, what you're going to see here is there's some fighters that are actually arrived after the officer who was shot, and they are in the street behind the officer's vehicle, some ways back, and they're actually hiding like kind of behind the fire truck. Yeah. So they may have known or they may not have known. And what you did see is what was really good is the officer arrived with his rifle ready in the ready position. Should he also then be ambushed inside the vehicle, they can also engage from there.
Where?
Suspect is a black male wearing a hoodie.
And we're getting shot at here. Somebody second in place. Camera actively shooting.
Where?
Copy. Actively shooting 22nd Blaisdell.
Where? Where's the guy shooting?
That guy, come here. Get on the ground. Yeah, go. Watch out.
Keep in mind at this point, this officer is 80 yards approximately away from where the suspect is, and presumably based on what he's doing and going forward, he does know who the suspect is, and he is attempting to engage the suspect at this moment.
He's out. Multiple shots being fired.
Still shooting. He's mid-block here.
Copy. Still shooting mid-block.
Officer's firing
Just firing rounds.
Hey, let's go. Move on. Move. Move.
I'll have the number of rounds that the officer is shooting on the screen. In total, I think it came out to be 20-something from this officer here. And what you noticed is that when that officer was shooting, he never got into any type of supported position, which is something that we're going to go over.
Get this car!
We have information that we have an officer down. And shots still being fired.
So that was really good right there. What the officer did was he used anything that he had available to him to create some distance, some space, and conceal himself as he was running towards where the suspect was.
Let's move! Come on! We're good! We're good! We're good! You gotta get moving, dude! Come on!
That guy's still running with that shield.
Yeah, I like how the officer with the shield is trying to advance. You know, there's a sense of urgency. Maybe it's possible that the officer with the rifle doesn't quite know what's going on at this point. And so he's like, yeah, we got to go. And then they end up moving up together here.
He's still moving!
Blue vehicle. Suspect is a black male wearing a white shirt, black hoodie, shirts, and brown shoes. 2115 Blaisdell information coming from.
He's down! He's down! Move up! Hold up! Come on! Reload! Reload! Hey, I got you!
So if it's not obvious, I'll put it up on the screen for you, but it appears that the suspect never left the prone position that he ambushed that officer in, because he's basically found in the same position next to this blue car over here. I counted when I kind of tried to watch it at full speed, 20 some rounds. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. I'll have the round count on the screen because we are going to talk about some marksmanship related things.
Stay around 22nd and 21st. They're shooting somewhere between the blocks. Copy. Stay away from 22nd and 21st and Blaisdell. He's shooting from that block.
Get up, get up, get up, get up! We need handcuffs on him!
Yes, I'm an officer now. Anyone else?
We don't know. We don't know.
The guy with the gun. Hey, get down! Get down!
Now I assume that this is happening, but if we have, you know, it's citizens, officers, suspects in terms of priority of life. So if we engage a suspect, and let's just say it's just me and you, and we have an officer down, one of us will hold coverage on the suspect while the other officer assists the officer, right? Until we get more units there that can assist the suspect. What I think is probably happening here is they have a bunch of officers here, so they're doing both at the same time.
Where's it coming from? Yeah, we have multiple shots fired! Multiple shots fired!
And this is important because we're going to talk a little bit about communication and moving and creating angles.
Where is he?
Copy, multiple still being fired.
Cop down! There is a cop down! Middle of the street!
And the reason that I say that is because the officer with the shield and the officer with the rifle both went the same direction, which isn't necessarily wrong, but we're going to give you some other options.
Middle of the street!
Do we have any location of the officer?
Middle of the street, a block north. Where is he? Move forward! Lexi! Lexi! Where is he?
342, what's your location so I can get more people to you?
We're moving forward up the fire now. If somebody actually went around the back and took a shot at him. Go around if you can get around that corner.
I'm going to be,
Oh, right there, I see him.
between Blaisdell and Pilsner, looks like. Multiple shots fired over here. We're going to need perimeter. And might as well start fire aiming. They are started to the area. We're going to patch with LTAC 2.
Yeah, yes, he was there shooting right there.
If there's any other officers, we do have another victim in a red.
Every officer coming to the scene, come from the south, don't come north. Hey, I'm going up, we're going up.
It's also okay too, if you're not really doing anything and you can get to your car or someone can get to the car that's making all this noise, you know, find yourself just not doing something, that will reduce the level of chaos that we're all under at this moment by cutting that noise out. Maybe dispatch can't even hear, right? So sirens going off, he's trying to tell other officers which way to arrive. That's really important information. If we can't get out over the radio, then that's obviously not helpful.
What do you need? What do you need? Take this, take this.
I don't really know why he did that. Maybe he had to go get some medical or something. But here would be my advice though, right? Well, because one, that rifle is zeroed to him, right? It's his rifle, he's familiar with it, and the other officer might not even be trained on the rifle. So we're kind of in conflict there. An absolute, you know, end of the world scenario, anything is kind of up for grabs, right? However, if you have a task that you need completed and you're the guy with the rifle, then tell the other person to go do it, right? Yep. So I don't know what he was doing, but let's say he was going to grab the med bag, right? He saw it was kind of under control. Hey, we need medical bags. Hey, go get the med bag. Just tell him to do it, right? It's your rifle. You can cover that guy. So like I had already stated, I mean, I don't think that was an avoidable situation as far as the ambush goes. And the reason is because even if we would have taken some precautions that we're kind of going to show you in some other situations, at any point you're going to move up to this person, right? Right. And if let's say he's concealing his firearm and hey, and you are using some cover, hey, are you okay? Or where are you hit? Where'd the suspect go? You're asking all these questions. You're like, hey man, we need to move up and help this guy. Well, at any point during them starting to help him, that guy could produce a gun and you're kind of in the same situation. Yeah. So that's why in this scenario here, I'm just gonna say that like it was probably unavoidable. The officer was doing the right thing. Kind of similarly to when like officers are ambushed on accidents, right. You know? Because as cops, we know that's some petty stuff, you know?
So in that scenario, we have situations like that, especially when I worked on night shift, people get shot up all the time. Everybody's going to handcuffs, everybody's getting searched, and everybody's being treated like a suspect. Is that fair to the public? No. But when we deal with situations like this, everybody's a threat all the way until I deem you're in my handcuffs and you're no longer a threat. And that's what we have to do in this situation, because we don't know if it's a drug deal gone bad, if it's some dude just smoked some rapist, and we have that situation. So even watching that, put that in the back of my brain, when I roll up on some dude, even if he's hit, I need to be making sure that he's not about to roll over. Right.
So I guess even in that situation, you could, I mean, it's not wrong, right? But you know, he's the only one there too, right? Yeah. So he made a decision that he thought was right in the moment, and just wasn't his day is all I can say about that. So at one point in time, somebody had told me a story, and if you know the origins of the story, you could put it in the comments. I didn't get enough details to recall exactly when it happened or where it was, but there was an officer who arrived on a scene of a disturbance, and I believe it was two male partners that were involved in a fight. I don't know if the officer was necessarily aware of that, but when he arrived, the suspect, who he didn't know was a suspect, was talking to the officer, and he was saying, hey man, come on, he needs help. He needs help. And when the officer walked past the suspect, he was shot in the back of the head and he was killed. So that's something that we want to try to avoid. Now, on the screen somewhere, you're going to see a video of that very thing almost happening, and luckily the officer was not killed. In this scenario here, we're using vehicles because that's just what we have available to us. Typically, this is more of a disturbance residential call, but it could happen in a parking lot. And so the very first thing that we're gonna do when we encounter somebody who may or may not be a suspect, we don't have all the information, right? We don't even know if the information in the call slip is good. So what we wanna do is gather information on this person the best that we can. And we can simply do that by asking questions, putting as much space that's available to us between us and this person until we gather more information that helps our decision-making process. So if I was dispatched to a call, a disturbance in a parking lot, or 911 heard what sounded like a gunshot, and you arrive over here and there's a door open and you believe, okay, this is the car I'm probably here for. And as soon as you arrive, you step out of your vehicle. Now for me, we always want to put as much of the vehicle between us and the potential problem as possible. So if I'm stepping out of my vehicle, maybe depending on the call, you might have your gun out in that situation, but let's just say I don't have enough information to believe that somebody may be seriously hurt. So I'm just like, hey,
she needs help.
Hey, what's going on?
Help! My woman is hurt. Shot.
What happened?
She got shot. Are you gonna help me, cop?
All right, well, come here and talk to me.
No, help.
All right, so what you don't want to do in this situation is immediately exit your vehicle and just walk up here like you're concerned, like, hey, all right, what's going on? What's going on?
Help!
Right? And so at that point, I've given myself very little options, right? So now I'm probably running, moving as fast as I can, probably rolling on the ground, trying to draw my firearm and trying to engage this person. And that's what we want to try to avoid. So we want to gauge whether or not the information he's giving us is accurate. And if it is a person that truly needs our help, usually they're going to listen to us because we're going to tell them, hey, listen to what I'm telling you so I can come over there and I can help you, okay? So if I'm back here and he is acting the way that he's acting, I'm gonna get on the radio and I'm gonna say, hey, there's a male, he's saying a woman shot, he's refusing to step out away from the vehicle, okay? So I'm not gonna do anything except hold what I got, wait for other units to start arriving so that we can formulate a plan and move up and try to help this person. Now, if he happens to step away from his vehicle, he's like, hey man, come on, like,
Hey,
help me.
hey, help.
All right, I'm coming,
Help.
I'm coming. And,
Please help.
all right, I'm coming.
She's dying.
All right.
She's dying.
And he all of a sudden walks back towards his vehicle before I get there. That should be a sign to you that now I can't see what he's doing, and now I just don't feel like this isn't adding up. Something doesn't feel right about this. So again, hopefully I don't get that close and he does that before then, but I'm gonna wanna back up, right? It's up to you to gauge that situation to decide you know, how much risk you wanna take. Maybe there's some cover over this way, or you're in a parking lot and there's other cars. So what would be helpful? Maybe getting another angle to actually see what he's doing, right? So what am I actually looking for in this situation, right? If he was someone that truly needed help and he was gonna listen to what I was saying, I'd be like, hey man, step out away from the vehicle for me.
Help her. Why is she?
Okay, I'm gonna help you. Listen to what I'm telling you. Pull up your shirt.
Why?
Pull up your shirt and turn around for me.
Why?
Okay, he has a gun. He has a gun, but let's just say he doesn't, okay? He turns around. All right, hey, walk towards me. Walk towards me. And a lot of times in this situation, they're gonna be mad, right? They're gonna be yelling, hey, come help me, come help me.
You can't help my wife.
All right, stop right there. Turn around, face away from me.
She's bleeding.
I know, I wanna help you. Turn around, face away from me.
What the fuck?
Drop down to both knees. Interlock your hands behind your head. So this is just using caution, because the only way that I could help that person is knowing that the only other person that is there that could hurt me is not capable of doing so. So it doesn't matter at this point whether he's a suspect or he's a complainant or he's a witness. I cannot put myself in a position to help somebody inside that car knowing that he is roaming around behind me. So what we want to do is gather information, gather intel on his behavior if he's listening to us, and then we want to put him in a compromising position where we can move up and, you know, detain that person. If you're by yourself, that's kind of a bad situation, because I could move up and as soon as I start grabbing onto this guy, he could fight me, but at least we're in a fight for your life, but he hasn't shot at me at this point. If we arrive on an active shooter, which kind of is what this sounds like, we see a person down, especially if it's a civilian or an officer, and we still hear the gunfire, we're going to want to be pushing towards the sound of gunfire as quickly and as rapidly as we can, but do that under control. I think in that situation we saw both officers go to the right, which isn't necessarily wrong. I think even probably some departments might say stay together, right?
Correct.
But if we get behind this vehicle here, and from our perspective right here, we don't see the threat, but we hear it, in an environment outside, it may be a better option for us to actually split, because if we both go to the right and we both don't see him, now we're actually delaying getting rounds on target potentially. So if we arrive on that type of call, like, hey, you see him?
No, pushing right. I'm pushing right.
All right, push. Now, another reason why the communication is important is because if I'm over here and I'm looking, and then all of a sudden I turn and my partner isn't here, I don't see him, I don't know where he is, I want to know where he went, right? So I can accommodate that for my own decision making. So if he's verbally yelling out going right, I know, okay, let me do another assessment. Do you see him?
I see him. I see him.
Okay, so if he sees him from there, I still may try to create another angle, right? But if he doesn't see him, no, I don't see him, there's no reason for me to push over to where he is, right? I'm simply going to, hey, I'm pushing left. And I might use some type of cover, you know, to my advantage to try to see him. And then again, even from there, right? Especially if we're split apart, if we're gonna be moving, right? We want to communicate that to one another, right? If he decides to just run down that way on his own, well, that's good information for me, because if he's not engaging the suspect and the suspect isn't engaging him, that could also mean that it might be safe for me to push down as well. So the important thing here is to try to change our perspectives if we can. If we are standing in one spot and neither of us can see where the suspect is, and we simply move where we are forward, well, we're not really changing our perspective, right? We're just seeing, you know, similar things, the same view, we're just closer to where we're at. So if we can split separate ways, create angles, that will probably give us more opportunity to engage this person. The officer was not shooting at a fully available target, right? That person was on the ground, so we have downrange what is that? What size target? I mean, it's a man target, right?
Yeah.
Of steel that is laying on its side, right? Just to kind of mimic what that officer was seeing. Was he looking at a fully available zone target or man target tilted to the side? No, right? Nope. He was probably seeing much less of that person, right?
Torso.
Okay, maybe a bladed target, okay? Whenever it's time to engage, we might just have to go with whatever we have in that moment, whatever environmental factors that may exist, and if we have to be standing, then we're standing. If we have to get into a kneeling position, kneeling, and prone. If we have to get into a prone, we can get into a prone. And that officer had moved to the right. He was really next to the vehicle, but on the left side of it. And initially the first, I would say maybe 4 or 5 rounds that he took, he was more in a like squatted position, right? So go ahead and get in that kind of just squatted position from about 80 yards. That's the position that he was in. Can we do better? Can we help ourselves be more accurate in that situation? Yes, we can, and I think that he recognized that, right? Because he shot those several rounds, and then he got into what I would say is like an orthodox, taut kneeling position from what his body camera looked like. Everybody kind of has their own way of doing this, and this is better than squatting, right? This is better than standing, this is better than squatting, and we can also probably get a little bit better in this situation. Now, he was basically almost up against the car, but I don't think he was, right? So if we want to support ourselves even more, even though this is not technically kind of like the way that this is taught, typically when I've trained this, I'm always switching my shoulder, even if I'm this far away, so I can minimize my exposure. But if you're not trained in that and you don't want to do that, then you don't have to, but we're 80 yards away, we could still use a piece of that car, even though it's not technically on the right side in relationship to our rifle, to our advantage. Also, if you get down in this position and you either don't feel like you have a shot you can't see, or you recognize, okay, hey, from here I'm standing, but I can't quite see him, or it's moving around a lot, let me move. He could have also kind of moved around the vehicle and maybe gone to the front of the vehicle. These are all just options, right? A lot of people have like different opinions and different ways of doing something, and if they're comfortable doing that way and they're accurate and they can repeat it, then it's fine. But something that I would do in this situation is create as many points of contact as I can. So if I'm going to use a barricade, I would also bring up my knee on that side so I can have a point of contact on the barricade and also have a point of contact on my knee back here. Some people might kind of argue, well, you're exposing your knee, but remember, is that better than standing in a squatted position fully available? I would argue that it is. So that's it from a distance. When I have time, I'm trying to take a well-aimed shot. That's what I would prefer in that situation. Again, I don't know if this officer recognized this and that's why they pushed down, or maybe he hit him and he thought that was a good opportunity to push down, or he just wanted to see more of the suspect. But we shot, again, I don't know, 8 or 9 rounds from 80 yards, and then we moved up and needed to shoot another, I don't know how many, 15 rounds, right? So in my opinion, right, if the target is fully available, even if it's not a fully available in terms of, bladed or, the entire A zone, if I'm taking accurate shots from 80 yards, I would expect all my rounds to be hitting that.
So you say that from a perspective of shooting. Right. So I literally been out here all day and I put thousands of rounds downrange monthly. So me hitting 80 yards, we do this with our pistols for training wise. Mm-hmm. When I'm on a line training police officers, I give them 50 yards with the rifle and it's like, what am I doing? It's all over the place. Right. So we talk about with that training that comes into play makes a huge difference. You talk about the heart rate that's elevated in that sense of individuals firing rounds back at you as a two-way gunfight.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, my point is that if I've shot especially 8 or 9 rounds, right, and I'm not seeing the effects on the target, I'm starting to think like, is something not right here, right? Yeah. Is he wearing body armor?
Yeah.
Right? And do I need to then transition to his head if I think that's the case? A lot of cops don't check their zero on their rifle all the time, right? So we get in police chases, we go over railroad tracks, we go over speed bumps. I mean, you might drop your rifle, inside the case, getting out of the car or whatever, right? And for whatever reason, you didn't take it out of, commission until you zeroed it. But I, at one point, was zeroing my rifle or checking my zero once a week, right? Just shooting a couple rounds just to make sure it's on. And it's okay if you're taking a couple well-aimed shots and you're not seeing what you want to see on the target. not to just continue shooting until you see it, because you may never see it, is to change your perspective, get closer, close the distance, right? Until you can start getting the results that you desire. I just would hate to see, and a lot of times I wish that we could actually see the scenes of these things. That's one thing we never see, you know, and in law enforcement, if you read the after action reports or the news reports and things like that, a lot of times they'll say, you know, the suspect was hit twice, but the officer fired 8 rounds, you know, and we also don't even know what that means. Like, what does hit mean? Because then it says, well, the suspect was transported with minor injuries, but he was hit twice. It's like, well, is that a ricochet? Did he scratch his knee? And so, you know, not saying this is the case, but, you know, he could have, we could have gone down there and seen the scene and seen like that the car that above him, this guy was just obliterated, right? Until he actually got to where he needed to put him. And that's important. Like, we need to make sure we're putting accurate rounds on target. If what we're doing is not working, then make the adjustment is basically the point.
What I teach, if you know you can't hit something from, we talked about this earlier, you can't hit something from 100 yards, you need to move up.
Yeah.
If you just got your pistol and that's it, you need to close that distance to your 50 yards that you're comfortable with putting rounds on, which is a bad day if you can't do it.
Somebody had asked me in one of my previous videos in the comments if I could kind of do a bullet point at the end, and I think that's a good idea of the things that I went over in the video itself. If I can remember to do that and it makes sense to, then I'll try to do that for you guys. And that is, again, in this situation, this may not neatly apply, but generally speaking, as an officer arriving on a scene where you have a person who is maybe a suspect or maybe they're a complainant, is not necessarily to take their word for it. And if you can, try to talk to them from a distance. Use whatever you have available to you in that moment as cover, whether it's your vehicle. Try to get them out into the open, have them follow some of your commands, and you're going to get information off that that's going to allow you to make a more informed decision. If you have to, put them in a compromising position, and if you need essentially to wait for backup or you're going to move up on them, make sure that you feel like you're in control of the situation. Don't turn your back on somebody unless you feel like it's absolutely necessary. If you are with a partner, working with a partner, and you are going to move from the position you're in to another position, it's always good at least just to indicate, hey, moving right, moving left, so that he knows where you're at and that your partner can also make maybe a different decision based off where you're moving to. And the third thing is that if you are going to engage, you may have to just go with whatever you have in that moment, whatever is available to you as far as shooting stance, but you always want to err on the side of the most stable shooting platform that you can get yourself in.